Rewind that clip. Not the loud part, the split second before it. Watch her hand. Watch his shoulder. There's a moment on that kick stream, right before all the yelling about phones and cameras, and if you know what's best for you and your kids, where two things happen at the same time. Nevaeh reaches. Blueface pulls. And a woman who is 37 weeks pregnant, sitting next to the father of the child she's about to push out any day now, suddenly looks like she's already lost the argument she hasn't finished starting. That's the moment. Not the shouting. The reach. And nobody wants to talk about what it actually means. Real quick before we get into it, y'all know the drill. Tap the like. Hit that subscribe. Ring the bell. This one's a rabbit hole. And the next couple videos, we're dropping build directly off of it. Don't say I didn't warn you when part 2 lands and you're scrambling to catch up. Alright, back in. Here's the setup. Clean and boring. It's early August 2026. Nevaeh Akira is 37 weeks pregnant, self-reporting a due date of April 12th on stream. A number that has done nothing but confuse the internet's math since Nevaeh confirmed it publicly. She and Jonathan Porter, Blueface, the father, are broadcasting on the Blues Clues 124 Kick channel. He's packing. She's watching him pack. Her son Superior is running around. And in between shout-outs to gifted subs and jokes about cornstarch, an argument is quietly assembling itself in real time. By the end of the night, he's leaving town. She's staying. And a phone has become the most valuable object in the room. Now watch this. The room before the storm. What the clip doesn't show you. Before we touch the quotes, you need to understand the room. Because the room is doing half the talking. Kick streams don't have a beginning, not really. The Blues Clues 124 channel. And this matters. Write it down. Is his channel. His name on the account. His sub button. His payout. When Nevaeh Akira goes live on that channel, she is, in the most literal sense the platform allows, a guest in his house. She can hold the camera. She can carry the content. She can pull 7,000 concurrents off her own drama alone. But the dashboard belongs to Jonathan Porter, and everybody in that chat knows it. And she knows it most of all. So when we talk about what happened on that stream, we're not talking about a couple arguing in their living room. We're talking about an employee-adjacent partner arguing with the account holder on the account holder's platform, in front of an audience that pays the account holder, whether she wins the argument or loses it. That's the architecture. Keep it in your back pocket, because it changes how every quote lands. Now the lead up. According to the timeline the community pages have pieced together, this stream didn't happen in a vacuum. In the weeks before it, Nevaeh had already leaked his longtime phone number to roughly 7,000 viewers. Accidentally, by all appearances, a screen flash mistake. The kind every streamer makes once and remembers forever. Hold that detail. Don't lose it. It's going to matter twice before this video is over. And the second time it matters, it's going to reframe the entire phone argument. There was also the residue of July. The TMZ interview with Adam22 and Lena the Plug was still sitting on the internet like an unwashed dish. If you're Nevaeh, you're not just streaming into August. You're streaming on top of a month where the father of your unborn child told a podcast audience, on camera, that your body was an inconvenience to him. She never publicly clapped back at that. Not once. And a lot of people read that silence as weakness. We're going to come back to that silence. It isn't weakness, but you have to earn the explanation. So let's keep moving. One more thing about the room. The chat. Kick chat during a Blueface stream is not a viewing audience. It's a participant. Gifted subs rolling in. Emote spam. People clipping in real time. Which means both of them knew, the entire time, that every sentence had a half-life of about 90 seconds before it hit Instagram Reels. The argument you're about to hear isn't two people who forgot the cameras were on. It's two people who remembered the cameras were on and argued anyway. Ask yourself why. Pull the receipts. Read them slow. Nevaeh mid-scroll. Why are you pulling your phone away from me? Why are you pulling your phone away from me? She says it twice. Not once. Twice. That's not curiosity. That's a woman who already knows the answer. His response, per the stream footage clipped and reposted across IG. You're being sneaky. I know what it is. Okay. He flips it on her the way people flip it when they've been caught before. Not denial. Redirection. Then it gets darker. Blueface. still on mic, to a pregnant woman about to give birth to his child. You don't want to see my camera roll if you know what's best for you and your kids. Read it again. If you know what's best for your kids. Half the internet caught it. The other half was too busy laughing at the fart jokes. But the clip is preserved, and it's not the kind of thing that ages well. Wack 100, and yes, we're bringing him in early because he's already stitched into this timeline, has been out here defending the situation on his own channels, saying Blueface never actually refused a DNA test, and that the family's ready to pay for one the second the baby drops. His words, not ours. And Nevaeh's answer to the paternity noise from that same broadcast. They said you just had to fart, live stream DNA test. She laughed. He laughed. Chat laughed. Nobody in that room laughed harder than the algorithm. Here's the thing about viral moments. They clip the loudest 10 seconds and bury the 20 minutes around them. And the 20 minutes around this one are doing quiet, ugly work. Start with the repetition. Why are you pulling your phone away from me? Twice, back to back. In conflict psychology, repetition like that isn't forgetfulness. It's escalation protocol. The first ask is a question. The second ask is a warning that the question isn't going away. She wasn't asking him to answer. She was establishing, on the record, in front of thousands of witnesses, that she asked and he pulled. There's a difference between a woman requesting information and a woman documenting a refusal. Watch the full footage again and tell me which one that sounds like. Then there's his line. You're being sneaky. I know what it is. Sit with that second sentence, because everybody quotes the first and skips the second. I know what it is. What does he know? What is it? He's not saying I know what you're doing. He's saying he knows what it is. Like there's a specific thing, a specific anxiety, a specific category of discovery that he has already identified and named in his own head. That's reportedly how people talk when there's a file cabinet in their phone with a label on it. Allegedly. We're reading tone, not indictments. But the tone is loud. And the cornstarch. Y'all remember the cornstarch jokes from the setup. On the surface it's streamer filler, absurd humor, chat bait. The kind of running gag that keeps gifted subs flowing during dead air. But notice when the jokes land. Every time the conversation drifts toward the phone, toward the number, toward anything with teeth, the energy pivots to something silly. That's not a coincidence engine. That's a deflection rhythm. And per the community breakdowns circulating on Facebook groups that archive the full VOD discussion, viewers in the live chat were clocking it in real time. Comment after comment asking why the room got goofy every time the topic got heavy. Now the DNA joke. They said you just had to fart, live stream DNA test. Everybody treated this as her deflecting. Wrong read. Listen to what she actually did. She took the single most radioactive topic in their entire relationship, whether that baby is his, and she put it on the table herself, on his channel, framed as a joke so nobody could accuse her of pressing. That's not avoidance. That's a woman demonstrating she has nothing to hide on the paternity question, in public, unprompted. Wack's out here saying the family never refused a test, and will pay for one when the baby drops. She's out here joking about doing it live. One of these two people sounds like they're managing the test, and the other one sounds like she's scheduling it. Notice who. And one line almost nobody clipped, because it wasn't loud. It was tired. I'm not going to beg for my family back. If he separates this, that's on his end. We're going to spend real time on this line later. So just let it sit in the corner for now. But clock the grammar. If he separates this. Present tense. Not if he leaves. Not if we break up. Separates. Like it's a transaction pending approval. Like she's describing paperwork, not heartbreak. People who are drowning talk about drowning. People who have already read the lifeguard's schedule talk like this. File it. We come back to it. Now sequence it. February 2026. Pregnancy announced live. Positive tests waved at the camera. Blueface yelling. You having a Blueface baby? Per Complex's original write-up. Everybody's beaming. Everybody's tagged. Carlissa's on IG. Jaidyn's throwing a well-wish. The internet clocks in. Then April rolls around. And Nevaeh drops the April 12th due date, which, if you're doing the math, and everybody is, doesn't line up cleanly with the February announcement or the on-camera positive test. That's when the paternity calculator memes started running. May Blueface allegedly says on an interview clip resurfaced by community pages that the baby isn't his responsibility. He walks it back. She defends him. The circus keeps moving. June, that filing, that fallout. Blueface reportedly tells her to get out the house during a meltdown documented by multiple outlets. She doesn't leave. He doesn't push. The stream stays live. July. TMZ catches him telling Adam 22 and Lena the plug that he isn't sleeping with Nevaeh anymore because the bump is getting in the way. That interview goes up. She doesn't publicly respond, but you can watch her energy shift in every stream after it. Early August, the phone snatch stream, which brings us back to right now. Hold on, back up. There's a beat inside that timeline I skipped, and it matters. Between the interview and the phone snatch, Wack steps in. Not once. Multiple times. He's the one who pulled Nevaeh aside on stream and asked her the questions viewers were asking. He's the one who asked on camera whether she'd leave if the baby wasn't his. That's not a manager doing damage control. That's a manager building a paper trail. And Nevaeh, on this most recent stream, said the quiet part loud. I'm not going to beg for my family back if he separates this. That's on his end. She's not fighting to stay. She's documenting that she didn't leave. Different move entirely. Because here's what the month-by-month breakdown can't show you. This story didn't start in February 2026. February is just when the pregnancy made it legible to the algorithm. The pattern started years earlier, and Nevaeh Akira had a front row seat to every chapter of it before she ever became one. Let's be precise, and let's be careful, because these are real people and the record is messy. Blueface's public romantic history has played out almost entirely on camera. That's not an accusation. That's a format. The Chrisean Rock era was a multi-year public saga that included, at various points, arrests, reconciliations, a reality show, a pregnancy, and a custody conversation that is still echoing. Blueface has publicly discussed wanting some form of custody of Chrisean Jr. while saying he won't fight for it in court. Whatever your read on that relationship, the structural fact is this. It was content. Monetized, serialized, cliffhangered content, from beginning to. Well, there never really was an end, was there? It just stopped being the current season. Then Jaidyn Alexis. The long-term relationship, the kids, the engagement, the public sidelining, the public callback, the re-sidelining, and now, per clips circulating this very month, she's reportedly on stream cooking with Kai Bands. Living her own chapter on her own terms. Good for her, genuinely. But notice the pattern for our purposes. The women in this ecosystem don't exit the story. They get reassigned within it. New storyline, new co-star, same expanded universe. And Rela Baybee, publicly denied, publicly relitigated, still getting litigated on TikTok long after the initial story died. That's the third data point. That's the one that should keep Nevaeh up at night. Because Rela's chapter proves the denial machine doesn't need new material. It can resurrect an old chapter and re-deny it whenever the algorithm needs a slow news day sacrifice. 3 women, 3 different relationships, 3 different timelines, 1 identical architecture. The relationship is public, the conflict is monetized, the exit, when it comes, is narrated by everybody except the woman living it. And in every single case, the channel, the narrative infrastructure, the manager, and the audience stayed with the same person. His name is on the account. Remember? Now, and this is the part that elevates Nevaeh from latest chapter to something more interesting. She watched all of this before February. She wasn't discovered under a rock. By the time she waved those positive tests at the camera in the announcement complex covered, she had years of publicly available footage, showing her exactly how this ecosystem treats the women inside it. She saw the Chrisean era in full. She saw Jaidyn's revolving door. She saw Rela get denied on a platform she doesn't even control. She walked in anyway, eyes open. So when the internet's loudest camp says she's naive, she's getting played. She doesn't know what she's in. No. Wrong diagnosis. The evidence says the opposite. The evidence says she studied the playbook and signed up with a counter-strategy already loaded. Whether that counter-strategy works is a different question. And it's the question this whole video is circling. But stop calling her naive. Naive women don't ask to see the camera roll on a live broadcast with the sub count on screen. Auditors do. The math problem, Why April 12th won't die. We have to talk about the date, because the date is the engine under half the hate in her comment sections. Nevaeh publicly stated an April 12th due date. She is, by her own on-stream reporting as of early August, 37 weeks along. If you're pausing the video to run the numbers, welcome to the club. The entire internet has been running them for months, and the paternity calculator meme economy was built on exactly this confusion. A February announcement, on-camera positive tests, an April due date, and in August 37 weeks, don't arrange themselves into a clean 9-month story, no matter how you rotate the pieces. Now, let's do this responsibly, because this is where commentary channels earn or lose their credibility. There are innocent explanations, and they deserve air. Due dates get revised. That's routine medicine, not conspiracy. Self-reported week counts on live streams are unreliable by nature. A person mid-broadcast reading chat and managing a toddler is not delivering a sworn deposition. Public announcements of pregnancy often lag the actual discovery by weeks or months for a dozen personal reasons. Any one of these alone explains a wobble in the timeline. But here's why the math problem won't die. And it's not because the internet is stupid. It's because the confusion itself became content. Every confused comment is engagement. Every wait, that math doesn't math, quote tweet is distribution. The wobble in the timeline generates exactly the kind of sustained, low-grade controversy that keeps a couple's name in the recommendation feed between the high-grade controversies. We're not saying the confusion is engineered. There's no evidence of that. And we don't fabricate evidence here. We're saying the confusion is useful. And in the streaming economy, useful things have a way of never quite getting resolved. Notice who benefits from an unresolved paternity math debate. Not Nevaeh. She takes the reputational damage, the clout chaser labels, the calculator memes. The benefit flows to the channel. The channel that streams the announcement, streams the confusion, streams the arguments, and will eventually, per Wack's own public statements, stream or orchestrate the resolution. The DNA test is the season finale. You don't air the season finale early. You let the subplot breathe. And here's the retention hook buried inside the math problem that almost nobody has picked up. If the dates are confusing to us, with our calculators and our meme calendars, imagine how clearly she knows the real dates. She knows exactly when she conceived, exactly when she found out, exactly when she's due. The internet is debating a question she already has the answer to, which means every stream where she lets the confusion run without correcting it is a choice. A deliberate, strategic choice to let the fog stay foggy. Ask yourself what the fog is covering. We're not answering that today. Honestly, we can't. The receipts don't exist yet. But when the baby lands and the dates lock into an actual birth certificate, some of this fog burns off on its own. And what it reveals is going to tell us which road this story is really on. Keep that in your pocket. We cash it in before the outro. 3 fragments. That's all we need. The pullback. Watch the physical mechanics of that phone moment. She doesn't lunge. She reaches, casually, the way partners touch each other's phones 1,000 times a week, without thinking. He pulls. That's a trained response. That's the response of somebody who's been in a phone argument recently enough that the muscle memory kicked in before the excuse did. He then accuses her of being sneaky, for reaching. Classic redirect. But the tell is in the speed of the pull, not the volume of the accusation. The audio slip. She says on stream, plain as day. He wouldn't even let me look up his new number on his phone. New number. If a man has a new number that his pregnant partner can't touch, that's not a phone issue. That's an access issue. And Nevaeh already accidentally leaked his longtime number to 7,000 viewers a few weeks back. So the new number is, in context, a defensive line drawn after she proved she couldn't be trusted with the old one. That's not speculation. That's chronology. The verbal booby trap. If you know what's best for you and your kids. I had to rewind that 3 times. Because on the surface, it's the kind of thing dudes say when they're bluffing about a camera roll full of nothing. But he didn't say for you. He said for you and your kids. Plural. Superior, her son from before, is in the room. Chrisean Jr., who Blueface has publicly wanted some form of custody over, though he said he won't fight for it in court, is a mile away in the news cycle. And the baby, unborn, is 37 weeks along. Whatever's in that camera roll, he's connecting it. Right there, live, with subs gifting in the corner of the screen, to the safety of her children. You don't say that on accident. You allegedly don't say that on accident, I should say. Reportedly. Alleged. But you heard it. 3 more. And these are the ones that separate the people who watch the clip from the people who watch the stream. The laugh timing. Go back to the DNA joke. Live stream DNA test. And watch it with the sound on but your eyes off their faces. Watch the chat. When she says it, there's a beat, maybe a second, maybe 2, before the laugh emotes start rolling. That beat is the audience doing a risk assessment. Chat is checking whether he's laughing before they decide they're allowed to. That's a room that understands, on an animal level, who controls the temperature. Nobody typed LOL until the account holder's energy cleared it. That's not a couple streaming together. That's a court streaming around a throne. And before anybody says we're overreading emote timing, this is the same chat behavior you see in every streamer dynamic, where one person owns the dashboard and the other person owns nothing. The audience learns the power structure faster than the participants admit it exists. The packing. Nobody's talking about the packing, and it's driving me crazy. The entire stream, the frame of the whole broadcast, is a man packing to leave town while his 37 weeks pregnant partner watches. Strip away every word of dialogue, and that's the video. He is leaving, she is staying, and the camera is on. Now ask the obvious question, why pack on stream? Packing is dead air. It's the least watchable activity a human can do. You pack on stream for one reason, because the departure itself is the message. He wants the exit documented. He wants he left to be a public event with a timestamp, not a private fact she gets to narrate later. And if that reading sounds familiar, it should, because it's the mirror image of what she's doing with, I'm not going to beg for my family back. He's documenting the departure. She's documenting the refusal to chase. 2 people, 1 stream, both building their half of the paper trail. That stream wasn't an argument. It was 2 closing statements delivered simultaneously to the same jury. The frame around Superior. We're going to handle this one with care, because there's a child involved and children are off limits as content targets. Full stop. No exceptions. That's the line here. But it's worth noting, as a matter of his choices, not the kids. Superior is in the room when if you know what's best for you and your kids get said. Per the preserved clip, the line lands in a space where son is present or adjacent. Reasonable viewers can debate what Blueface meant. And we mean debate, because intent is to clarify and nobody else is to convict. But the choice to say it in that room, on that mic, with that audience, is not debatable. It happened on camera. Whatever it meant, it's archived now. And archives have a way of outliving explanations. And one metaframe, the one about us, the IG clip of the pullback has been viewed, shared, and stitched into oblivion. Every share monetized by somebody, and almost none of those somebodies are Nevaeh. Remember the clip economy section coming up. The frame everybody skipped is the frame we're all standing in. Watch how the outlets split. Complex is running it as a relationship mechanics piece, leaning into the cheating admission and the emotional arc very clean. This is what a fraught pregnancy looks like when both parties are online. No forensics, no timeline stress testing, just vibes. TMZ takes the tabloid angle, the sex clip, the Adam 22 quote, the too big for sex headline. That's the framing that keeps them in Google News. It's not wrong, it's just narrow. TMZ isn't asking why he said it publicly. They're asking how loud they can print it. The Shade Room goes tribal. Background piece on Nevaeh. Meet cute origin story. For things to know. Rehabbing her softly. Making her legible to an audience that was skeptical from day one. 3 outlets. 3 different women in 3 different stories. Same woman. Now the counter-argument. Steel minute. The loudest fan cam position out there right now goes. She's a clout chaser. The timeline is SUS. The DNA test isn't real. This is engineered content and Blueface is being played. That's the read Wack has been quietly nudging on his own YouTube posts. And you know what? It's not a stupid read. The February announcement, the April due date, the on-stream pregnancy tests. Put that in a courtroom, and any lawyer worth their retainer would raise an eyebrow. But here's what dismantles it. If she were a pure clout play, she wouldn't be asking to see his phone. Clout plays keep the piece on camera and monetize the illusion. A woman asking to see a camera roll live, in front of 7,000 subs, isn't building content. She's fishing for evidence she can bring up later. That's not a scammer's move. That's a scared partner's move. Let's pull the camera all the way back, past the outlets, past the fan camps, to the machinery underneath. Because the media split isn't really 3 rooms telling one story. It's one economy processing one couple, and understanding the economy explains the behavior better than any psychology. Here's the supply chain. A couple argues on Kick. Within minutes, clip accounts, dozens of them, anonymous, tireless, slice the argument into vertical video. Those clips hit Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. The pullback clip, the camera roll clip, the number leak clip. Each one is now its own little asset, generating views. And views generate money. And here's the part that should make you sit up. The money flows to the clipper and the platform, and in almost every case, not $1 of it flows to the woman whose worst moment is the product. She provides the raw material. The ecosystem refines it, packages it, monetizes it, and ships it back to her as comment section verdicts. Now look at the incentives this creates for the participants. The account holder, his name, his channel, earns directly from live viewership, subs, gifts, ad adjacent revenue. Conflict drives concurrence. Concurrence drive gifts. Gifts drive the algorithm. The algorithm drives new viewers. New viewers arrive hungry for the next conflict. It's a flywheel, and the fuel is interpersonal damage. Nobody has to be a villain for this machine to run. Everybody just has to keep showing up. And the outlets we just walked through, they're downstream refineries. Complex needs a clean relationship. Arc TMZ needs a printable quote. The Shade Room needs a sympathetic profile. None of them are lying. All of them are selecting. Selection is the quietest form of distortion there is, and it points the audience's flashlight wherever the outlet's business model needs it pointed. So when you ask, why would they keep arguing on camera if it's real? You've got it backwards. The camera isn't interrupting the relationship. The camera is the relationship's largest shareholder. The question isn't why they argue on stream. The question is what would happen to the revenue if they stopped. And one more layer, because this is the one Nevaeh has clearly already figured out. In this economy, the only asset the non-account holder can accumulate is the record. Receipts. Timestamps. On-camera statements made by the other party that can't be walked back. She can't out-earn the machine. She can't out-own the channel. But she can make sure that when the machine finally turns on her, and the deep timeline says it turns on everybody, the archive contains her version too. Why are you pulling your phone away from me? Ask twice on the record. That's not a fight. That's a deposit. This isn't about a phone. The press keeps calling this a trust issue. That framing is a lie of convenience. Let me tell you what I actually think is happening. Nevaeh Akira is 37 weeks pregnant, on Kick, with a man whose public track record with the mothers of his children reads like a case study in what happens when the streaming economy meets a personal life that was already combustible before the cameras showed up. She has watched from the outside, and now from the inside, what happened to Chrisean Rock. She has watched Jaidyn Alexis get sidelined, called back, sidelined again, and now reportedly cooking on stream, with Kai bans like the game's completely rebooted. She has watched Rela Baybee get publicly denied and relitigated on TikTok. She has watched all of it, and she's on the same channel it happened on. So the phone snatch isn't jealousy. Jealousy is a decorative word. What she's doing is intelligence work. She is trying, on a live stream, in front of a chat that is 40% subscribers and 60% sharks, to gather receipts on her own relationship in real time. Because she knows, structurally, that once the baby lands and the DNA test happens and Wack has finished publicly asking the questions he's been asking, there is a version of this story where she is the next Rela, denied on TikTok, downgraded to a footnote, and the if you know what's best for you and your kids line, that's not a threat in the mob movie sense. It's the softer, uglier version. It's the pre-verbal warning of a man who knows the camera roll has ammo and is reminding her that using it costs more than it earns. That's the read the mainstream won't print. That's the read that gets you sued if you print it wrong. We're being careful. We're saying allegedly. We're saying reportedly. We're saying what a reasonable viewer, watching the same clip, might reasonably conclude. But we're saying it The opposition wants you to think this is a chaotic couple being chaotic on camera. It isn't. It's a business relationship, mother, father, unborn asset, being renegotiated live, in front of an audience whose gifted subs are, whether they realize it or not, funding the negotiation. And here's the part that stings. She knows. She knows, and she's still there. Not because she's stupid, because she's strategic. Because walking away at 37 weeks means walking away from the only version of the story where she has any leverage at all. Watch her say it herself. I'm not going to beg for my family back. That's not the sentence of a woman in love. That's the sentence of a woman who has read the exit clause and is choosing not to invoke it yet. Now zoom in on the third person in this two-person story, because Wack 100's fingerprints are on more of this timeline than the recaps give him credit for. And his role is the piece the mainstream keeps describing without ever actually examining. Start with what a manager is supposed to do. A manager manages the talent's career, bookings, deals, image, damage control. Standard job description. Now look at what Wack has actually been doing on this story, using only his own documented appearances. He went on his channels and stated that Blueface never refused a DNA test, and the family will pay for one when the baby arrives. He pulled Nevaeh aside on stream and personally asked her the questions the viewers were asking. He asked her, on camera, whether she would leave if the baby turned out not to be his. Read that job performance against the job description. He's not managing Blueface's career in these moments. He's managing the paternity narrative. The timeline of who said what about the DNA question, when, and on whose platform. And here's the detail that turns this from manager being a manager into something with a longer shadow. Every single one of those interventions is on camera, public, archived, timestamped. He didn't call Nevaeh. He didn't arrange a sit-down. He asked her the hard questions, where the clip accounts could catch them. Why would a manager want his client's paternity dispute litigated on the record instead of settled off it? Two possible answers, and we'll give both. The charitable one. Wack understands the clip economy better than anybody in this ecosystem. He's been saying so for years. And he knows that in the streaming world, the only narrative that survives is the one with footage. Getting Nevaeh's answers on camera now protects Blueface later. Because if the story ever mutates, the archive has her positions in her own words. Fair enough. That's competent management. The less charitable read. A paper trail cuts both ways, and the person who builds the trail usually builds it to be walked in one direction. Every on-camera answer Nevaeh gives Wack as a position she can be held to forever. Would you leave if the baby isn't his? Whatever she answered, that answer is now load-bearing. If she stays after a disputed result, the clip comes out. If she leaves after a confirmed result, the clip comes out. The questions themselves are the cage. She just got to pick which words to be locked in with. We're not saying which read is true. Wack's defenders will point out correctly that he's also been the one publicly defending her against the worst of the paternity mob. Both things can be true at once. That's what makes him the most interesting person in this story, who isn't pregnant. But notice the asymmetry, because it's the whole ballgame. Wack interviews her on camera. Nobody interviews him on camera. Nobody's asking the account holder the hard questions on the record. The paper trail has one author's name on it and one subject's name in it, and those aren't the same name. Remember the missing 10 days we haven't explained yet, the gap in June between the reported Get Out meltdown and the July TMZ interview? That silence sits right in the window where the management layer would normally be doing its quietest work. No clips surfaced. No statements. Just a couple re-emerging in July like the June episode never happened. Somebody put a lid on that stretch of the timeline. And lids don't put themselves on. We don't know what's under it, but we know who owns the lid. The women before her, the pattern in full. Let's lay the pattern out end to end, one time clean, because we've referenced the pieces all video, and they deserve to stand next to each other. Act 1. A woman enters the Blueface orbit. The entry is public, celebrated, monetized. Announcement content. Tag everybody energy. Carlisa posts. The internet clocks in. This happened with Chrisean. It happened with Jaidyn's returns. It happened with Nevaeh in February. Positive tests waved at the camera, per Complex's coverage. Act 2. The friction phase. Public incidents start accumulating. A quote here. A meltdown there. An interview that crosses a line. Each incident is individually deniable and collectively corrosive. For Nevaeh, Act 2 has been May's reported, not his responsibility clip, June's documented fallout, July's TMZ interview, and now August's phone stream. Look at the cadence. One incident a month, minimum, like the story is keeping a schedule. Act 3, the redefinition. The woman stops being a partner in the coverage and becomes a topic. Chrisean became a saga. Jaidyn became a revolving door, who now streams her own chapters. Rela Baybee became a denial that gets re-aired on TikTok whenever the feed needs her. The woman doesn't leave the ecosystem. She gets converted into inventory. 3 acts. Every time. Same architecture. Now here's the question that matters. The one this entire video has been building underneath. Is Nevaeh in Act 2? Or is she running Act 2? Because the counter read, the one that started forming the moment she asked to see his phone twice on the record, is that she knows the 3-act structure better than any of us. She watched all 3 predecessors go through it in public. And a woman who knows the script might decide that the only winning move isn't avoiding Act 3. It's making sure that when Act 3 arrives, the archive is too thick with her receipts for the ecosystem to redefine her the way it redefined the others. The number leak? Maybe an accident. The twice-asked phone question off stream? On the record. The unprompted DNA joke? On the record. I'm not going to beg for my family back. On the record. If that's a pattern, it's the first time in this ecosystem's history that the woman is the one keeping the books. Allegedly. Reportedly. Pattern recognizably. Watch how the next 90 days play. The baby lands. April 12th or thereabouts, per her own numbers. The DNA test happens on stream, because Wack has already been laying the public groundwork for that being the resolution move. If the test comes back the way Blueface expects it to, expect a soft launch reconciliation arc, a photo dump on IG, Carlisa posting a grandbaby carousel, and the phone argument disappearing from the algorithm inside a week. That's the clean road. The one where everybody smiles for the thumbnail. Now the Messier road. The test result gets contested, or delayed, or the results drop, and there's a gap between what the stream shows and what the paperwork says. In that world, the camera roll line comes back, not from Blueface, from Nevaeh. She sits down on a different platform, probably TikTok, probably around week 2 postpartum, and the receipts she's been quietly building for 6 months become the story. Don't be shocked when a burner account starts leaking screenshots the mainstream outlets are too gun-shy to touch. Once that drops, Wack loses the framing war overnight. 5 years out. And this is the one nobody's ready for. Superior and Solar, and whichever kids come after going to be old enough to read the archives. Every kick clip. Every cornstarch joke. Every, if you know what's best. The residue of this era isn't going to land on Blueface or Nevaeh. It's going to land on their kids, who will be handed a search engine and no way to unsee it. The industry residue is smaller. This becomes the case study cited every time a label tries to package a pregnancy as content. It doesn't kill the format. It just makes the next couple sign a better NDA. The favored side wins because the favored side already owns the platform. Blueface controls the channel. Wack controls the narrative. Nevaeh controls one thing. The timing of when she decides she's had enough. She hasn't decided yet. But watch her hands next stream. Not her mouth. Her hands. That's where it's gonna show first. 3 roads were laid out. Here's the 4th, and it's the one the prediction markets and the comments never seem to model. Nevaeh wins the long game by staying boring. Think about it. Every Act 3 outcome in the deep timeline required the woman to either explode or be exiled. The ecosystem converts you into inventory through drama or erasure, and both require your participation. But there's a third conversion path nobody in this universe has tried yet. Becomes so consistently documented, so relentlessly reasonable, so permanently on the record as the calm one, that the machine can't find a frame to hang the redefinition on. She keeps streaming. She keeps answering questions unprompted. She keeps the DNA test on the public schedule. She never begs, never explodes, never gives the clip economy the 10 seconds it's starving for. What does the machine do with that? It starves. The 3-act structure needs friction to run. And friction needs 2 participants. I'm not going to beg for my family back. If he separates this, that's on his end is, hear it again. A unilateral ceasefire filed as a public document. She's telling the ecosystem, my side of the war is closed. Any further conflict is authored entirely by the other side. If she holds that line through the birth, through the test, through whatever the camera roll turns out to contain or not contain, then every future incident in this story has exactly one author, and it isn't her. That's not weakness. That might be the most sophisticated play any partner in this ecosystem has ever run. Or the skeptic's version, and we owe it air. It's the play she has to run, because a woman at 37 weeks with a toddler and no dashboard doesn't have another one. Strategy and survival look identical from the outside. Maybe they always do. Now cash in the pocket items, because we promised. The math problem. When the birth certificate locks the dates, one of two things happens. The fog was harmless noise, or the fog was cover. Either way, she already knows which one it is. She's the only person in this entire story holding a card she's never had to show. The missing 10 days in June, still missing. Somebody put a lid on them. Lids don't put themselves on. And the first journalist or channel that pries that lid off is sitting on the next chapter of this story. It isn't us yet, but we're looking. The number leak, the second time it matters, as promised. She leaked the old number accidentally. And within weeks, there's a new number she can't look up. Run that chronology backwards and ask the uncomfortable question. What does a woman learn in the weeks between those two events that makes her reach for that phone in August? The leak might not be the accident in this story. It might be the reason there's a secret to protect. Allegedly. Chronologically. You heard the timeline same as we did, and the signals to watch next. So you're ahead of the cycle instead of behind it. 1. Whether the DNA test gets a date attached before the birth or keeps floating. A floating test is a leverage asset. A scheduled test is a resolution. 2. Whether Wack interviews Nevaeh again or goes quiet. Quiet means the paper trail is considered complete, and complete trails get used. 3. Whether Nevaeh appears on any platform that isn't Blue's Clues 124. The day she builds her own dashboard is the day the fourth road becomes the real one. And 4. Watch her hands. Not her mouth. Her hands. Some callbacks are earned. Y'all made it to the end, which means you're the ones who actually watch instead of scroll. Drop your read in the comments. Do you think she stays through the DNA test? Or does she pull the pin first? I want the hood court verdict, not the polite one. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay close. The next one's already in the oven, and it goes somewhere you're not expecting. Fame Cryptics out.